Yeah, so the recording is going on. All right. So let me put up the first slide. Okay. Is this slide visual, everybody? This slide is visual. Mukta, is the slide visual? Okay, great. All right. So the topic, as it says, is rewire your brain. And why this topic? All right. One is the first question is how many of you would agree, and I'm sure of you would agree that modern life today is pretty stressful. That it's not so easy in the modern world. The second question is that stress can have a negative impact on sleep, productivity, relationships, your health, etc. And I'm presuming all of you agree to it that yes, this is a very valid question and a yes answer. And that if we could reduce our stress somehow, we'll be more happy. That is the three questions. Okay. Yeah. So one is maybe you all can mute your cameras for better audio quality if you can do that. So I think most of them are muted. All right. So I'm sure all of you would agree to this that modern life is stressful and it's, it's good if we can somehow handle the stress. There's enough things to handle. Now, there is some statistics which I'd like to share with you here. The World Health Organization in 2017, this is a 2017 statistics, and probably it has gone up by now. It says that 5.6 crore people suffer in India, this is India statistics, from depression. That's a pretty huge number. Now, depression is an extreme form of stress. So it is not easy for someone to handle depression. It is when there is tremendous negativity in the person and the person loses all hope of doing anything, sort of a thing. It is tough to handle depression. While it's curable, it's still very tough for the person who undergoes depression. There were 4 crore people who had something called as anxiety disorder. Now, anxiety disorder also is a very severe form of stress, though may not be in the form of, it's not uh, as severe as depression is. And the worst is about 7.8 lakhs people died due to suicide. Now, that is again a huge number, which means almost 9% of our population is in this field of either anxiety disorders, depression, or 8 lakh people committed suicide. Now, suicide happens when you're absolutely unable to handle the stress that your body is going through or the mind is going through. And many of us, if we are going to say that, okay, zero level is absolutely no stress, we are perfectly fine, perfectly normal, no problems at all. And 10 could be that we're on the verge of a suicide type depression. We could be anywhere in the middle, our current state or our day-to-day state as we go about our life. We could keep going through various stages of stresses from extreme stress to minor stresses, but all of them have some detrimental effect on us, and we'll see as we go along as to what this detrimental thing could be. Now, simple, what is stress? Stress is a state of mental or emotional strain. That's something that we don't like to have, something the body doesn't like to have, and it's sort of a tension that resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. So the circumstances, we perceive them as very demanding, very not conducive for normal day-to-day living, etc. And that, what it does is it we give an involuntary physical or a psychological reaction to something that is happening outside, that is the circumstances that are outside. How we immediately, involuntary, that means we don't have any control over it, react physically or psychologically. It's a reaction that becomes a, that causes stress. Now, another reason that so this trigger that we're talking of over here, that means something is there which triggers this involuntary reaction, and I have put this involuntary in bracket because if I can somehow make this involuntary into voluntary, then I get control on my stress. Because right now it is not in my control. Something happens outside, I simply react in a particular manner, and that is stress. That results in stress in the body. Now, how can I do it such that I get under my control? And we'll see as we go along. Hopefully, we'll give some answers to the questions that might be there regarding that. So, one of the major reasons why stress happens is when expectations are there, or we don't meet the expectations, that causes this psychological or emotional trigger. So all expectations cause a stress. Also, the journey to meeting those expectations can cause stress. And let us see how that happens. Now, you might remember, you might have heard of this something called as a fight or flight response. It's an attitude that we have, which means an attitude is an instant reaction to an external stimulus. Now, why did this fight or flight response, or one more, you can add one more freeze to it, the three F's: fight, flight, or freeze. How did our body get tuned to such responses instantly? See, the human being as we are evolved maybe about 50,000 years ago from the apes or chimpanzees, and we slowly evolved, and two branches came about, the Neanderthals and the Homo sapiens, and the modern human being evolved. In those days, when the evolution started off, the mankind was a hunter gatherer, and therefore you had to either hunt for your food, that means you had to fight for your food, or you had to run away from becoming food for somebody else. So you might have had tigers or whatever, that the carnivorous animals which were probably after you to make you their food, and therefore your brain had to react instantly, and the brain evolution designed that way to respond to those triggers, saying, okay, I want food, therefore I have to kill very fast, otherwise I go hungry, or I run away from the prey so that I don't become food myself. And that became our default program which we started off with. Now, this evolution from 50,000 years ago till the modern human being started settling down, probably around 5,000, 6,000 years ago, somewhere around that period, when the human being started settling down. So the modern human being, as we know of ourselves today, is only about 5,000, 6,000 years old, whereas the actual brains, the body's chemicals, etc., the systems, etc., have evolved over 50,000 years. So we are still new to this new age human being. The brain has not really evolved to that extent as probably it should. And therefore, we are still governed by this fight or flight response. And as we go along, we'll see. Therefore, this fight or flight response also becomes our attitude. And it says attitude is an instant reaction to an external stimulus. Something happens outside. How do I instantly react to it? What do I do so that I instantly respond? It's instantly react to it. That becomes my attitude, which I display. And since one of the integral part of attitude is emotions, I display it emotionally. And there are various emotions, as we'll see as we go along. So now the human body is at one level is all chemicals, right? So the allopathic medicine that we know of is really chemicals that we keep eating, and these chemicals, the external chemicals that we eat, control various chemicals in the body, and that becomes a part of human being. So these chemicals could be, there are hormones, there are proteins, and what we hear today of COVID, the whole scenario is so complex, the whole scenario is so complicated, it causes stress to us. It is what? A protein. A protein is a chemical. And in the body, we have hormones and proteins. There are more than 75,000 proteins, and there are about 50 hormones in the body. All these chemicals which are getting released in the body impact the body in a particular way. And these chemicals are displayed to the outside world, to our relationships, everything in the form of emotions. So I'm going to be very simplistic over here during the entire talk. I'm trying to remove as much scientific jargon, etc., from this whole thing to make it very simple for everybody to understand. Okay, so if somebody is a scientific bent of mind, there are enough papers, research papers on the net which you can go through. You just Google them, you'll get all the answers from there. So, all right. So, coming to these chemicals getting released. Now, therefore, these chemicals that get released, how do they get released? One is, these are the triggers. That means something happens outside. How do I instantly react to this trigger that is coming from outside? That means our expectations. And we have multiple expectations. Now, expectations become the trigger for stress. Now, when expectation is not getting met, that becomes a cause for stress, because our brain basically loves something to happen in the predictable fashion. It loves 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. It loves to go that, okay, I've planned this, and therefore the steps to achieve this particular goal or my target is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should happen. Something should happen today, something should happen next week, something should happen next month, and I'm very happy. But then life is not so simple, and it gets sidetracked somewhere. And so when I'm expecting something to happen, something else happens, the brain goes out of your comfort zone. And when it goes out of comfort zone, that causes stress. So these two things are major things. Expectations create stress. When expectations are not met, they create stress. Major stress can happen. That another thing now, this new word which is coming here, limiting beliefs. And we'll see later on that is the second part of the session where we talk of limiting beliefs. Now, limiting beliefs are something that you believe to be the absolute truth. There is no such thing as reality. What you believe, the facts are empirical, truth is subjective. So, what you believe to be the truth may not be factual. But then these limiting beliefs, if you have any, and we'll talk about that later as we come along, they can cause stress to some extent. And majorly, another thing that causes stress is your fears. Now, fears are again very dangerous. Fears, I might be a very happy person. I might be a very driven person that I want to do achieve something in my life. I've got lots of expectations and targets and goals. All these I've taken in my life, and therefore I want to do great in my life. But this emotion, that is fear, it can create havoc. And we'll talk about that as we go along. So, what are the stress triggers we talked of? Goals and targets. So, those in the corporate world, we are very well known to these goals. Now, even in the family field, you have various goals. So, there is relationships, there are different goals, different targets are there. These could be daily, weekly, monthly. And more you have a target, trying to meet those targets can become stressful. Again, like I said, there are chemical which get released, the hormones get released, and we'll see which are the good hormones and the bad hormones as we go along. But remember, goals and targets create stress. Various milestones that we need to achieve, that can cause stress. It's there are family conditions, sometimes they can cause stress because things are not happening as per my wish. Husband and wife, if thus you expect your spouse to behave or act or do something in a particular manner, that's your expectation, and for whatever reason it does not happen in that particular manner, that will cause stress. Or your children, we all parents expect that to some extent the children should behave in a particular manner, to do something in a particular manner, expectations are there. For whatever reason the child does not fulfill that expectation, does not meet those expectations, that will result in stress because the brain wants that to happen, does not happen, the brain flips. And we'll see again that happen. So again, that same thing comes to relationships. Now, these goals and targets could be in the professional field and also in the personal field. Some people even get stressed in the holidays. Some people are stressed while going for a holiday. Some people are stressed during the journey. Some people are stressed after reach the destination because maybe the hotel is not to your liking. The journey may have not been exactly as comfortable as you expected it to be. Maybe there was some delay somewhere. Maybe you expected the air conditioning to be of such a particular manner, but somehow the air conditioning did not work. It was too cold. It was too hot. There could be n number of things that don't go as per your expectations. What does it result in? It will result in stress. So this could be long. It could be daily, weekly, monthly, annual, and you will have stresses. Now let us see how all these things that are there, the expectations, the triggers, how do they impact the human body? What do they do? So every time you go out of your comfort zone, you'll be stressed. And how long will you be stressed? So now we said, okay, these are the triggers. What do the triggers do? The triggers, immediately we have a chemical reaction that happens inside the body in the form of some chemicals or hormones being released. Now it works both ways. You either release the hormones and therefore you get the reaction particular to the trigger, or other way, that means when something happens outside the expectation, the external environment, how do you react to that? By creating various hormones, various chemicals, that becomes your emotional, and you will probably display stress situation. Now I said there are 50 hormones, right? But there are some good hormones. There are hormones which we always must have, which are very required for us to generate so that we can act in a particular way and that we are full of life, full of zest for life, full of fantastic, and say, ah, maza aa raha hai nahi ka. Life is great, life is fun. And these hormones are some of these, a few of them which I mentioned here. There is adrenaline, which is called as an action hormone. So to do action, you need adrenaline. So you might have heard of something called as adrenaline rush. Then there is a hormone called dopamine. Dopamine is something called the reward chemical. I need that for getting the target, to go to the target, to the goal that is created by dopamine. Serotonin is called as the happiness chemical. So if I have serotonin in my body, I'll be happy. If I don't have serotonin in my body, I'll be sad. It's as simple as that. The chemical, if I have this chemical, I'm going to be happy. If I don't have this chemical, I'm going to be sad. There is oxytocin, there is endorphin. Like endorphin is a sort of a stamina chemical to do long distances, to continue that willpower. For that, you need this endorphin, which says, I will not give up. Now you need all these hormones in your body. That's what all this happens. So the action hormone, reward, happiness, passion, energy, rush of blood, nutrition to the cells, muscles, all these happens by these good hormones, and there are many more of them. But there are also some negative hormones or bad hormones, and these are directly related to stress. And these are two of them mainly. One is cortisol, which is in fact called as the public health enemy number one, and the other one is norepinephrine. Both these are very dangerous. Like I said, cortisol is public health enemy number one. And therefore, my body must not secrete these chemicals. What can I do so that I do not secrete cortisol, I do not secrete norepinephrine? I should secrete the other one. I should secrete adrenaline, I should secrete dopamine, I should secrete serotonin, should secrete oxytocin, should secrete endorphin, but not these. Let us see why not. Uh, Let us see. I'm using here a couple of analogies here. So there might be a goal, there might be some your dream destination, a holiday. There might be what you think should happen outside in the world. There could be a simple dog also, right? Now all these moment the brain is constantly scanning the environment, constantly looking outside through the five senses. Now, moment the brain gets hit by various number of things at every moment of time. The brain filters many of them out. What does the brain do? Now, in the brain there is a conscious brain and there is a subconscious mind or the brain, right? Which of these two is the more powerful? I'm sure all of you know that the subconscious mind is the more powerful one. How much more powerful? 95% of the time. Only 5% we live consciously with conscious decision making process. 95% of the time we are living subconsciously. That means without thinking. We are going on automatic mode. Now, why does this happen? How does this happen? So what happens is when the brain is scanning outside, okay, this is still a very prehistoric type of a brain that is going on in the whole thing. The brain senses all these activity outside only through five senses. That is the eyesight. So when you see something, either you hear something, or you smell something, you taste something, or there is a kinesthetic, that is the touch. So the brain senses this. Instantly, this information is sent into the brain. Now I'm simplifying it over here just to make it very easy to comprehend. The brain will bifurcate these into two parts. One goes to what is called as the amygdala or the prehistoric brain, the ancient brain, which is the amygdala part, which is the subconscious mind. And there, it does only one thing. All it does is checks for a previous reference. Has what is happening around me, has it happened before? And to get a match, it takes about 50 milliseconds. That means this much time it takes. And moment it gets a match, it says take action. This is what we need to happen. And it gives action to the entire body to do whatever it needs to do. Now, this action is governed, remember, on the two things, that is the fight or the flight response or the freeze response. And this has been programmed into our body for last 50,000 years to evaluate whether what I have sensed just now, is it good or is it bad? Is it nice? Is it not nice? And this is also based on my previous references. That means since childhood till now, whatever has been stored as my memory, it checks that and says, okay, what happened when this had happened previously, because it's got a match now saying this has happened previously. For example, is, let's say, I'm going to take an example here for dog. If somebody doesn't like a dog, then the brain quickly scans it, says, oh, dog is not good, dog is bad, and gives information to the body to take charge. And we see this. On the other hand, the conscious brain is the analytical brain, is the more formed brain. Is it can do 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. It can do, okay, it can do this analysis like if, but, and, why not, why so, is there any other alternative method, can I do this, can I do that. It does all that. But to do all this, it takes some time, and it takes about 250 milliseconds. So it is 5 times slower than as compared to the subconscious mind. And therefore, the moment, even before the conscious mind has time to analyze anything and give information to the subconscious mind and to the body to act in a particular way, the subconscious mind has taken a decision and acted on it. And that is based on the fight, flight, or freeze response. It is not a thought out thing. It is simply react to something that happened previously. I need to take this or I'm still alive. And let's see what all does this happen. So the first thing that happens in this, so you get this input from wherever you're getting it. It is an expectation, or it could be an unexpected thing that you did not expect to happen. Therefore, the brain does not have any previous reference for it. The brain says, oh my God, what is this happening? I've never seen this happen before. You got a target in front. The brain says, oh my God, will this work? You think of a dream destination, your goals, and saying, no, I must have a big house. The brain says, we don't want to have a big house. Are you sure? We don't have a big house. And there is conflict over here. So what the brain does that in 50 milliseconds, it processes this information. And what the brain does, it then instantly evaluates. Do I need to take a fight, flight, or a freeze response? Because if it sees a dog, it needs to fight the dog or run away from the dog. And to do this, what does it do? Instantly, in that 50 milliseconds, the brain instantly gives a signal to the endocrine system, to the various glands, called as the adrenal glands, saying release adrenaline, release cortisol, release norepinephrine. Because adrenaline I need for the fight or flight. The cortisol is also released because based on what the experience previously has been. Now, cortisol, like we said, is public health enemy number one. What does this cortisol do? The first thing is the brain has said, I need to run or I need to fight this, whatever that thing is. I need to take charge of it. The brain goes into activity over there. It therefore signals the heart to beat faster, beats harder. Therefore, the blood pressure rises, the blood pumps, the heart pumps the blood into the muscles, to the brain. It literally sends the heart racing inside the body. So your heart starts to pump very fast. Now, one of the major functions of the blood is to take oxygen to the brain. Now, this brain is only about 2.5 kilograms. It's a very, compared to the body weight, and the body weight could be to the tune of almost, say, 70 to 80 kilograms. It is minuscule. But this minuscule weight, 2.5 kilograms of mass in the brain, demands 20 to 25% of oxygen. That's a huge amount of oxygen that the brain demands. And that comes from the blood, and therefore it gives a signal to the lungs saying you must do faster breathing. And therefore the lungs start to breathe fast and shallow. The lungs will gasp for air, desperate for oxygen. Now the brain says, I don't need the stomach to work now. I need blood, I need nutrition, which is there already in the body. I'm not going to start digesting food right now when I'm worried more about fighting, running away, or all that stuff. So the brain now, the stomach, the enzymes which flow into the stomach for digestion are stopped. And instantly the food that we may have eaten or we were eating instantly starts to putrefy, starts to go bad inside the stomach because it just simply, the enzymes stop to flow. Further, the intestines are not required now because the brain says, hey, I don't need the intestines now because you're not going to process anything, any the bowel movements, etc. Stop all bowel movements, and therefore the excretory system is also shut down, or it just simply stops malfunctioning. And therefore, instantly, the acids which have already been released in the various system will there. And one of the main things that happens is acidity, and that's a result of what? a reaction to an external something had happened which should not happen. Cortisol got released. It stops the digestive system, the intestines, etc. And I will either get loose motions, I'll get stomach problems, I'll get stomach cramps, I'll get indigestion, acidity, the thing that happens. Further to that, the eyes, I need to focus now on what is in front of me, which I presume is the threat. Let's say the dog is the threat, or the goal is the threat, or something not happening is the threat. The pupils instantly dilate, my peripheral vision is lost, and eyes will become very focused. Again, I don't need my mouth to now eat anything. So I don't want saliva coming in over here and creating problems. So my mouth will become dry. The saliva is literally stopped from coming into the mouth. Now, insulin, because the blood is carrying a lot of nutrition to the cells, because cells need the nutrition to function. The brain needs nutrition to function. The blood is carrying that. But in order that the nutrition reaches every cell and is consumed by every cell, it needs insulin. And which is insulin is secreted by the glands which are there called as the islets of Langerhans on the stomach. What is it? Now these insulin will therefore spike, and you're going to land up with huge bursts of insulin coming into it, because insulin is required. Otherwise, the glucose which is circulating, the sugar in the body, cannot be absorbed by the cells. So your insulin spikes, and you'll have regularly insulin spikes. Now, the skin doesn't require therefore blood, because blood is required somewhere else. Therefore, you become pale, because the blood vessels, the skin capillaries will constrict themselves. They become there's no blood coming to them. You become pale. So one is you want blood to go to the various muscles and to the brain. So that happens. Now, since all this is going inside, your temperature starts to rise. And how do you release temperature? Perspiration. Muscles go into a trembling mode. That happens. Muscles become tense. You want to resist, fight, or you want to run. Now, all this happens. The immune system gets suppressed. And all this happens in a jiffy. In 50 milliseconds, the cortisol that is released and norepinephrine that is released from the brain to the endocrine system creates this entire thing happens in your body instantly. And the body goes into total shock. Okay, it could be a little bit, it could be massive, but that now this manifests itself in the form of stress. Because now the brain this simply says, I cannot handle this, I don't know how to handle this. Brain says, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Ye karo ya wo karo. And this is displayed as an emotional outburst. Could be anger, could be stress, could be I don't know what to do. Oh my God, is this happening? All this starts to happening in that 50 milliseconds. And then everything starts to go. Now just imagine if during the day you're going to have multiple such expectations coming in, which always cause your cortisol to be released, norepinephrine to be released. You're going to have these cortisol spikes every day, maybe 10, 15, 20 times. And it keeps going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Body is going to be totally in stress, totally out of sync. It doesn't know what to do. And you might have heard that 90% of our diseases are psychosomatic diseases, which means it is not the virus that kills you, it is not the bacteria that kills you, it is the mind that kills you. So COVID will not kill you, but the very fear of COVID might kill you. The very fear of COVID might give you depression. The very fear of COVID will cause you to have a heart attack. The very fear of COVID might make you to go into diabetic shock. The very fear of COVID might lead you to a paralytic stroke. COVID might not still not have got you. The COVID might get you, because we said, okay, they have said that only some 2% to 5% people will actually succumb to COVID. That's a minuscule number. People die more from typhoid and from road accidents and from malaria and from various other diseases. COVID is not that serious, you would say. But what the mind says, oh my God, I got COVID. My neighbor has got COVID. Now what do I do? How do I do it? Somebody in the building has got COVID. And you get more stressed and more diseases start to happen because of the mind. Unless I can take charge of this monkey mind, life is going to be very, very difficult. So now what happens? Now, how to be stress free? What can I do to be stress free? Which means either I should be able to handle the situation that is outside. Because if the situation, if suddenly tomorrow COVID disappears, the stress trigger has gone. And say, yeah, life is good, no problems, COVID is gone. Or let's say you have a very tough goal in front of you, something that has your quarterly targets or your annual targets or whatever that is. And that suddenly says, okay, that's gone, that's no more there. I become instantly stress free because now the cortisol is not going to be released from in my brain because that goal has disappeared. Or it could be a relationship issue. So if I'm again relationship again something, if whatever thought will happen does not, it disappears, my stress point disappears. So one is you handle or change the situation, or the option is to hand yourself. Now the situation itself, there is a problem in the situation. Why? Because the situation can be very complex. Can we really make the COVID go away? Is it under yours and my control? I don't think so. And therefore, the situation itself, and there are many other stakeholders which are involved when there is a situation to be changed, and it could be any situation. Their agreement is required, and it is very time consuming. And therefore, whatever time it has to go, I will remain stressed for that entire duration. My cortisol will keep getting released, keep getting released. My body is always under various in a stress situation, and I'll have trouble. Or you can handle or control your own self and your emotions. That means if you can control that when I get the goal or the trigger situation, I do not release cortisol. I do not release norepinephrine. On the other hand, I release the other chemicals, which are things like adrenaline, I release dopamine, I release serotonin, I release oxytocin, I release anandamide, I release endorphins. I become stress free. And that's so simple now. If I can control that, now suddenly the emotions, which to date were hijacked by the situation because I was simply reacting to it because of a program that's been built into my mind, and I don't know how to change that program. But if I know how to change the program, I can change the situation now. Otherwise, I can handle it myself, and therefore I can control the situation now. It comes under my control. And now I can choose always to be positive. The situation can remain the same, but I can choose to be positive. I can choose to control my serotonins. I can choose to control my dopamines. It life dramatically alters. And suddenly, in that same situation, I can have a smile on my face. I can say, "Ah, life is great. Oh, we get it's Rogers us. It is quite tough. It is very tough, no doubts about it. But I'm enjoying life. I'm having a great time." That becomes my subconscious mind. Today, even if I want to say it, even if you saying no, life is good, I'm enjoying life, even my COVID, the subconscious mind says, hey, that's not how it is. It will still release the cortisol, it will still release the norepinephrine, and I'll be stressed out. Now what can I do? So here is one statement which I love very much, which is from the book by Stephen Covey, and it says life is full of choices and I choose which choice to make. Stephen Covey is the guy who wrote that 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In that, there's a full chapter on this, that life is full of choices, and I choose which choice to make. So if you can internalize this statement, it comes to one equation, a simple equation which says S plus R is equal to O, where S is a situation. Now, the situation is rarely in my control. It is always the other, like we have said, situation is very complex, very time consuming. It is not easy to control. The situation, therefore, is beyond my control. R is how I respond to the situation. Now, remember the word I've used is respond. R can also be reaction. See, reaction is instantaneous. It is from my subconscious mind that a reaction takes place. A response is a deliberate, well thought out, planned action. That response is under my control because based on that response is going to be O, where O is the outcome. Now that suddenly comes under my control. And therefore, how do I train my brain for the response part and not react to it? So, like I said, what's the difference in reaction versus response? A reaction is an untrained reaction that causes stress. So as we've seen, instantly all those chemicals, that cortisol, norepinephrine get released because it is instant. 50 milliseconds, it has to happen. You have no control over it if it's a reaction. When you say a response, it's the ability to respond to a situation. If I can control that, the outcome can come under my control, and nobody can take that away. The whole, therefore, endeavor has to be, how do I get the reaction to become a response and a well thought out thing rather than a reaction. Once I learn to do that, life starts becoming much, 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 much more easier. Stress disappeared. If my stress has gone, my body and my brain can become fantastic. I start looking at life through a different lens, different prism. जिंदगी का मजा आने लगता है. Let's see how to do it. Except reaction is subconscious, response is conscious. But like I said, unfortunately, the conscious brain is unable to talk to the subconscious brain because we never let it talk. Our subconscious brain rules us. We simply are not being trained in school nor college. How do I let the conscious brain speak to the subconscious brain? If I can do that, I can control the subconscious brain. Right now, unfortunately, nobody's trained us. And therefore, that creates a lot of problem. Anyway, so as a rule, take responsibility for the choices that you make, especially when the choice goes wrong. Because choices will go wrong. So I'll leave it at that. I'll not go to the depth of this right now. Just remember, rule one for stress handling is take responsibility for the choices that you make. Because every situation we make a choice. How to react or is always my choice. Once you say it's my choice, you can choose wrong. That's fine. But the body says, okay, it's my choice and not the choice of the circumstances. My stress levels come down, especially if the choice goes wrong. Now, how to train the brain to give an appropriate response? So we've seen so far that the stress is majorly caused by our external triggers, something happening outside, something happening beyond my control. It's outside. How my subconscious mind instantly reacts to it in 50 milliseconds. That releases cortisol, that releases norepinephrine, because that is the fight or the flight response that is given, and that causes a whole lot of problems with the body. The body goes into different modes, and I'll end up in various stressful situations. And I say, oh my God, life is so tough. I cannot function. And the brain goes, boom, 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 all that stuff. How do I train my brain to ensure don't release cortisol, don't release norepinephrine, release adrenaline and all those other chemicals I talked about? The answer, simple answer to that, that means is, do you release the chemicals first or should I have the emotions first? The good news is it's both ways because it says emotions can cause the chemicals per se can cause the emotions. But that has a problem in the sense you can take chemicals externally. You can take in a pill of those chemicals. Say, okay, I need adrenaline, let me take a pill of adrenaline. I need serotonin, let me take a pill, a tablet of serotonin. And these tablets are available in the market with the chemist or doctor can prescribe you for it. But then all these chemicals have severe, severe side effects. So it's not the way to go. On the other hand, if I can control the chemicals myself on my own through some techniques, life can dramatically change. Now, how do you do that? How do you control your emotions? You learn to do both. And what do you do to learn how? What are the steps required to learn to take both? First is, of course, we said was rule number one, that is take responsibility for the choices that you make, especially when the choices go wrong. So no blame game. That is a conscious decision that you have to take that I am responsible for the choices that I make. Second one is press the pause button. Now, what does this pause button mean? Whenever you see something wrong happening outside, which is not as per your expectation, the trigger causes. You might have experienced this so many times. When a person becomes very hyperactive, when a person becomes very angry, what is the instant remedy that is given to that person? Say, hey, take a deep breath, have some water. Now, what is happening when you're having water or taking a deep breath? The brain is going haywire. It's already released the cortisol, but the brain is taking in oxygen, taking in a lot of nutrition inside that is the body, giving it. The brain is giving time for the conscious mind to talk to the subconscious mind. Let us find a way out of this situation rather than simply reacting. And that 10 seconds of pause that you will take, by then you will get some answer. The conscious mind is very powerful that way. It can figure out situations. It generally will say, okay, do this, don't do that. So many things it can thought of. And now the situation you're able to handle, your stress level instantly starts coming down. Another very, very powerful thing is what is called as mindfulness meditation. That's the most powerful technique that I've learned ever. It's also, I call it sensory meditation, wherein you train your senses to be in the present. See, what happens is our brain is always either thinking of the past, which is full of memories, and many of them could be negative memories, could be bad memories, could be very sad emotional memories, or it is always going to the future, which is imagination. We still don't know what's happening. And the brain keeps going to the past, to the future, and future to the past. It keeps flipping like a butterfly from here to there. The power in the brain lies in the now, in the present moment. How do you train the brain to think in the present moment? Now, they've done some calculation and they said, okay, we get some 60,000 thoughts in the mind. Now, these thoughts on their own has got no meaning, but it is the interpretation of this thought that the intellectual mind does, which leads to emotions. And where those emotions concerned, the chemicals get released. Will you release cortisol or will you release adrenaline and serotonin and dopamine? That is how you have to train. And the best method is mindfulness or sensory meditation. Very powerful technique. Once you learn this over a period of time, the brain simply can train to come to the now, into the present state, rather than go into the past. Because past is, you're always guilty of the past, you regret the past, you hope that should not have happened. Future is uncertain, we don't know what's going to happen, and the brain is stuck in the middle. How do I train it is meditation. And therefore, the conscious mind, through the mindfulness meditation, you can train the conscious mind to train the subconscious mind to now respond to situations emerging in a particular mind. Once I can do that, life becomes so much simpler. So this, what will come to is end of part one, which is the stress caused by external triggers, expectations, and the expectation journey. After this, if there are any questions, please type them out or raise your hand. We'll take a 5 minute for question answers about this part of it. And then we will go to the limiting beliefs and fears and how they control us. So this is the last slide before we can go to if any questions are there. So if you look at a holistic approach to avoiding stress, we must have physical, mental, and emotional fitness. Okay. Now in all these, exercise is among the best. Now, exercise is of three types. One is flexibility. It must have stamina. It must have strength. So flexibility, like yoga, is a highly great exercise for flexibility. Stamina means you're going to do it for long duration. For example, if somebody is a gymmer, now gymmer, a regular gymming will give you probably good strength, but does it give you stamina? I'm going to put a question mark over there. Does it give you flexibility? I'm going to put a question mark. So you have to mix and match, and you have to do multiple things to really get really become stress free. Just single one thing is inadequate. One of the best thing is pranayam. Now pranayam is got amazing results. You can get fantastic way of handling stress is through pranayam. Hobbies is another amazing method to handle stress. Mindfulness or sensory meditation. How do you train to breathe deeply and learn the art of focus? Another very powerful thing is called as gratitude meditation. All these go towards release of stress. Very important to have regular sleep for 8 hours. A diet, preferably vegetarian, low sugar diet, full of nutrients. No alcohol, drugs, smoking, tobacco, fatty foods. Avoid excess caffeine. So all these will give you, and some basically have some me time. Enjoy yourself. Chill. Be a couch potato for some time, huh? Not the whole day. All these can lead you to having a, of these the things which you need to really learn is pranayam. You must learn mindfulness meditation or any meditation, I would say, for that matter. It is not just mindfulness. It is, there are 80 different forms of meditation. There is Sadguru Jaggi Vasudev with his Shambhavi Mahamudra and other kriyas. There is Sri Sri Javi Shankar with Sudarshan Kriya. There is Chinmaya Mission. There is Vipassana. There is, I prefer, my preferred one is mindfulness or sensory meditation, which I find very useful and very calming. It gives you great control of the mind. And I teach people this. And I have a program coming up on Saturday and Sunday to teach mindfulness meditation, about which I'll tell you maybe little later on. All these, I'm sure, are within your thing, within our daily control. And don't say you don't have time for all this, because that is, you are lying. You have to do this as many times as possible in the week, if not every single day. If you do these things, trust me, stress cannot touch you. Because your body is going to be in an amazing state where you got amazing amount of adrenaline, amazing amount of dopamine, amazing amount of serotonin, amazing amount of oxytocin, amazing amount of endorphin. Cortisol, norepinephrine does not get released because now it is under your control, especially with meditation. That is the most powerful one you can do. Others help to a large extent. Okay. Okay. Before I go, let me now stop the slide share and let us take any questions that might be there. There are a couple of questions I think that have come up. Okay. Okay, can you unmute us for question answers? Yes, I will unmute all you guys. Let me just check where is the unmute button. Okay, so I've allowed participants to unmute themselves now. That is one, but there are questions here. Okay, happy marriage anniversary. Thank you very much. Can you unmute us? Okay. When we pause for 10 milliseconds, how to ensure conscious is taking over unconscious mind, how to practice to have good choice over. So how does this two thing work is the best thing is for the to let the conscious mind talk to subconscious mind is meditation. Meditation teaches the brain, the two brains to talk to each other because you're giving it enough time for the two to talk to each other. If you don't give it time, you cannot. It cannot happen when you're fighting. It doesn't happen. In fighting, you are going subconscious. You're whatever is trained subconsciously, you are just simply doing it. So therefore, meditation is the only way that you can train the conscious mind to talk to subconscious mind, unconscious mind. And one over practice, you'll suddenly find everything becomes under your control. Is schizophrenia stress? Okay, schizophrenia is a little bit more complex than what I have talked about. I've talked about very simplistically. Schizophrenia is actually some physical problem, chemical, not just physical, chemical, but neurological problem in the brain. So it is not as simple as just being stressed out. So it's far more complex than just having expectations and trigger all that. It's more of a medical problem than just a psychological problem. So that's a big difference between the two. Yeah. Any other question?
So is it mean when we are under stress, our other organs like you said, na stomach and liver and all that, they are functioning very less. Is it the same meaning like when we are under stress?
That is correct. The moment we go
Correct.
under stress, the body goes under stress. All the
Okay.
other functions which are not required at that particular time shut down. So your
Okay.
stomach literally shuts down. So digestion stops. Your intestines shut down. So whatever is food that has gone into intestines will not do it, and it's just simply putrefy, and that leads to acidity, that leads to stomach problem. Multiple problems starts to happen with that. That's the start point, and can go on and on.
Is it as being a nutritionist, I would like to ask, when people are under stress, there are chances to get gain so much weight. Is it correlated to each other
Definitely, 100%. Because getting overweight is also a stress disorder.
because of stress? Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you
Thank
release the if you release the stress from their minds, you will find the nutrition diet that you are giving them, they'll respond far better to it than otherwise.
you. Okay.
See,
Thank you.
because one way as a nutritionist, let's say you are going to control their diet, you're going to control their calories that they're going to take. The moment
Okay.
you control the calories, they will definitely start losing their weight. But the moment
Okay.
you stop, it will again bounce back at double the speed
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of stress, etc. So get them stress free, and you will have amazing results.
Okay.
Could you please
Thank.
explain a little more about mindfulness meditation? I'm always so curious to know more about subconscious mind. I feel some difficulty to train it, or to be specific, it's hard to make it believe that everything is fine. Yeah. So what I'll do is we'll in the next segment I will teach you. We'll talk about the limiting beliefs and fears. And then, like I said, on Saturday and Sunday, I'm conducting a full session of 2 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours on training for mindfulness meditation. So I'll take a practical session of teaching you the technique of mindfulness meditation and a couple of other things which I'll explain to you later on. So we'll have to hold on because difficult in a short span to teach meditation like this. How do we
Okay.
deal with traumatic memories of the past which are affecting the present? Yes, I'll deal with it in the next segment now. Does greed induce stress? It does, because greed is again is expectation, it induces stress. Is it true that some stress is necessary? I personally feel no, stress is not necessary. A name given for it is stress, but I don't call it stress. I call it, yeah, I'm a happy person. I will still do what I want, but not because of stress. my understanding of stress is negative. Cortisol, norepinephrine. You don't need cortisol, norepinephrine to handle it. You need adrenaline, which is positive, and that therefore you need passion. You need that, okay, I'm going to do it. That attitude, but that's not stress. For example, a marathon runner, he is going to run for 42 kilometers, and to train to run 42 kilometers, he runs something like 125, 150 kilometers a week. Now, does he do that because he's stressed, or does he because he says, "Oh, I like it"? That marathon runner, he or she does it because मजा आता है भागने में. I mean, यार, you or me run 2 kilometers, हम थक जाएंगे, बोलेंगे यार मुझे बख्श दो यार, मुझे नहीं भागना है. But these guys will run for 40, 45 kilometers, 100 kilometers, 125 kilometers in a week and say, यार मजा आता है यार. Who's got stress? No stress. They do it because they want to do it. So it is not stress. Thank you, sir. We'll join it. How to reduce hypertension, assuming it is stress induced. Again, meditation is a powerful tool. Pranayam is a powerful tool for getting hypertension under control. And plus, there are some more things which I'll talk of now after this session. Is there correlation of sugar or sweet eating to good health of it? Definitely, huge correlation is there. Uh, I'm sure a nutritionist will tell you, or otherwise also that sugar and sweet eating is some amount is probably fine, but otherwise not very good. So we have to control our diet, even though many of us have a sweet tooth. Is depression environmental stress response? Yes, it is. Depression, it takes about maybe sometimes 10, 15 years to manifest depression. But depression has started 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it starts with maybe a small cortisol spike. And every day you get that and builds up over time. In fact, all these stress diseases which are there, most of them will take 10, 15 years to really manifest outside. Diabetes is a stress disease. It is not genetic. So diabetes starts off at age 15 and 20, but is detected when you are 40 years of age. Why? Because daily your insulin spikes, the body is trying to handle. At some stage it gives up, and when it gives up, you say, ah, now I've got diabetes. But it takes 20 years to do that. So yes, so depression is and it's not hereditary and genetic. There is so it's not depression is not genetic. It is not hereditary. Maybe 1% might be there, but otherwise 99% is not. Stress triggers are goals and expectations. So do we mean we should not have both? Yeah, good question. Does it mean we should not have expectations? No, that's not the case. If I can control my hormones, that means the emotions, those expectations are fantastic. I mean, I must have a great life. I need that to have a wonderful life. I can't just be sitting in the tree and saying, I have nothing to do now. Life is over. Maza, bas, om. I don't think we need that life. We need something or the other. We need to have some goals and targets in our lives. There could be family targets, they're required. But I must not be under tension to do that. I was like, hey, maza aata hai yaar. Life is good. That's how I should train my brain to do that. How sugar affect mind health? Okay, sugar, because sugar is when blood sugar spikes inside the body, you need insulin to take it to the. Basically, that means the sugar is rising in the body, but muscles, the cells, the 100 trillion cells in the body are not getting nutrition. Sugar is nutrition. The body needs the energy to function. But somehow, because the insulin is not getting secreted properly, the nutrition is not being absorbed by the cells. And therefore, when my sugar, therefore they say when your sugar spikes and all that, I feel very fatigued. I feel very down. That is how it works. Does speed induce stress? Yes, we said. Can we use sound frequency to train our brain and body? Yes, sound is also has got its effect. It's multiple things. It is not just one thing. Like I said, music is good. Music can induce your moods. Music can change the moods. So in I'm sure we know in at least in Indian classical singing, classical ragas, etc. The raga, there is a raga for the morning, there is the afternoon, there is depending on various, there's some ragas which will generate stress. I mean, the anger, saying kuch karne ka hai, some will calm you down. So music has a huge impact on that. Like meditations are available on YouTube. Yes, YouTube also has a lot of meditation sessions on there, so you can choose which are there. Today there is huge amount available on the net. You can try out which one. Okay, good. So I will now go on to the next part so that we don't overshoot too much of a time. And I'll take the okay. Can meditation be learned by yourself, or do you necessarily need a guru? I would say a guru helps to shorten your time span. learning meditation or many of these techniques on your own, eventually you'll learn it by mistakes. But then, is it really required to learn by mistakes? I would say a guru will teach you in 1 day, 2 day, 1 week what you need, what you might take 1 year to learn. That probably is a more sensible approach to do it. But you can learn on your own by saying, like Buddha learned on his own. I don't think anybody taught the Buddha. He took but some 20 years to learn meditation. But he passed on to his disciples who could now teach it in probably 1 week or 1 day. So I would recommend you look at various gurus that you want to and then pick one and choose one and follow it, because all of them generally say the same thing and generally talk of they generally talk good things. They don't talk bad anything about it, but you can experiment with 2 3 gurus, and whichever you like, follow that guru, and I'm sure it will help you much more faster than trying to learn on your own. But you can. There's, like I said, YouTube has got enough things that you can teach you. But then if you learn the long things, then what will happen? When you understand, I learn the wrong thing. So that's got a thing. Okay, so let me now proceed. And we'll stop the questions now and we'll come back to questions after the break. So I'm going to again now request all of you to mute yourself, and I will go back to the slides and we will go back to Q&A at a later time. Okay, now let us go to this part, which is overcoming limiting beliefs and removing your fears. These are slightly different from your expectations and this thing, because these are now literally programmed into our body. Literally, we are running a software program which is there in the body, on which we currently have no control. It's a default program that has come with us. Or rather, default program has been built into us in the last whatever is my lifespan. If I'm 15, 20, 30, 50 years of age, for last 40 years, somebody has been programming me from outside on which I have no control. And therefore, that become a default program that literally runs me. Sounds a bit difficult, sounds suddenly very alarming, but yes, we are doing somebody else's bidding. Absolutely. No escaping that. And what does that mean? Again, we are coming back to this. Now, we saw a little bit earlier, we saw about expectations, goals, target, etc. Now, there are also some things. Let's say when you see a cockroach, when you see a dog, when you see a car, when you drive a car, and there could be many, many, many things that you might have. Because beliefs and fears, there are two things. Now, some of us would be dead scared of a cockroach. Yes or no? Some of us are saying, kuch nahi karta hai cockroach. Some of us might be dead scared of dogs. Some of us might love dogs. You say, oh, a lovely dog. I love this dog. And some of you say, oh my God, kutte ko pehle baandh ke rakho. I'm not going to come near your house or near you till that dog is free. Pehle usko baandh ke rakho. And could be, yes, lizards, snakes, and there are many of these. Now, again, the body's reaction is the same what we saw in the earlier slide of expectations. Exactly the same way it starts to happen. So when you see any of this, or the lizard or a snake or anything, you again, the brain instantly goes into a fight, flight, freeze response. Again, the same adrenaline gland releases cortisol, norepinephrine, the heart goes, lungs start breathing faster, stomach goes for a 6, intestines go for a 6, eyes, they go for a 6, mouth becomes dry, insulin energy spikes, skin, blood vessels constrict, pale, perspiration, trembling, temperature, muscles tense and resist, immune system suppressed. Why? Because you saw a dog, because you drive a car in the crowded Pune streets, or you saw a cockroach, or you saw a lizard, or it could be anything which you don't like. The response to the brain is identical. And if it's, again, like I said earlier, if this is going to happen every day in a day, if you're going to bet 20 times either expectations or lizards or cockroach or dogs, this, that, you are going to be finished, man. We are not going to have a good life. We're going to be always ruined. We feel very happy. You know, if we do something, we feel, yes, nice, very happy, very happy, very happy. Got some goals in front of me. कि जिंदगी में ये करना है, जिंदगी में वो करना है, and something this pops up, tuck, release cortisol. Oh my God, what will happen? Fear is a major thing that can stop us from taking action. And what does it do? Now, first is I'm going to take the negative or self-limiting beliefs. Now, beliefs, like I said, is something that you believe with the utmost conviction. Yahi hai. That's it. They may not be facts supporting it, but that's your belief system. You said, yahi hai. For example, some of us might believe in God, some of us may not believe in God. You can two have a discussion for 2 days or 10 days. You cannot convince each other by logic that God exists, or the other one cannot convince other person that God does not exist, because your belief system is so strong. That, now, what are these belief systems? And there are majorly many negative belief systems. I'm going to first talk about. So, like I said, it's a program running in my subconscious mind. The mind thinks 60,000 thoughts in a day. The mind is constantly going on and on. And that subconscious thinking pattern, now, if that subconscious thinking pattern is of these I can't messages, that I'm not good enough, that I will never amount to anything, I'm a failure, I never succeed, I'm bad at public speaking, happiness never lasts, I don't deserve to be happy, I'm worthless, I'm useless, I'm not smart enough, no matter how hard I try, it's never good enough. And there could be some more, I can't mention it. It is difficult to make money and hard to keep money. I have to work hard to earn money. I don't deserve to succeed. No one will ever love me. I don't deserve to be loved. I'm going to get cancer, diabetes, blood pressure, others because of family history. So it's genetic, and therefore I also get it. Now, all these are the negative messages, and there could be many, many more. If these are running constantly in my subconscious mind, cortisol is getting released, my body is in a stressed out condition, and that will always stop me from doing my best. Now, if my belief system is saying I'm not good enough, now my parents can tell me, come on, Girish, you're a fantastic guy. You can do so many things, but my subconscious mind says, no, I can't do this. मुझ में काबिलियत नहीं है. But the parents will say, no, you or your friend might say, yeah, what is the problem with you? Yeah, you got everything. Or let's say public speaking. I'm bad at public speaking. If that is your subconscious belief system, somebody might say, look, guy, I mean, you are knowledgeable. You got 10, 15 years of experience in this subject. All you have to do is just go in front of in the podium in front of some 10, 20 people, strangers or your known people, and give a 20-minute or a 1 hour talk. You are doing, you know everything. So it is not about knowledge and skill. It is about that subconscious monkey mind saying, "Oh, I'm not good at public speaking at all," and these can create havoc. So the subconscious, so these things, the limiting beliefs are slightly intangible. They are more just the mind makes it up. There is no hard fact to back it up to say this is why I'm that. But on the other hand, fears are much more tangible. So you can be fearful of a particular object. That is what it could be. So, for example, there could be many fears. Somebody might be afraid of a dog. Somebody is afraid of snakes. There are heights, risk taking, unknown, losing, rejection, water, sea, flying, injury. And there are multiple other fears that you might be having. And everything, a fear of maybe fear of darkness, maybe fear of unknown, maybe fear of rejection, maybe fear of being let down, maybe fear of losing a loved one, maybe fear of being alone. There's so many fears that I'm having. Maybe fear that COVID might hit me. I might get COVID. Fear. That's a fear that you could have. And therefore, these health issues also, diabetes, like I said, that I will get diabetes because my parents had diabetes. And that is fear. That means my whole body is going to be in a fearful state. At some stage, I'm going to get diabetes. Where the brain is phenomenal. It keeps checking. Has this happened previously? Is it? The brain is saying, I must have diabetes. The brain checks. Do I have got diabetes? Brain says, no, you don't have diabetes. But my subconscious mind says, no, I will get diabetes because my parents had diabetes. And the brain does that data and does that for 10, 20 years. And brain says, okay, take diabetes. And it is all, therefore, now becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Same thing becomes overweight also. It's more a subconscious thing. So these negative beliefs and fears are like that plastic chair which you can see in the slide. The horse is a phenomenal animal, very strong, and it's tied to a plastic chair with a rope, and the horse doesn't move because it says, "No, I'm tied here, therefore I cannot move." Reality, the facts are, it can kick that chair out and be free in no time, but it doesn't. And therefore, these negative beliefs and fears, literally, we start going on a roller coaster ride of emotions. because we are thinking negative. So what we do is we read a positive book, we read a book, or we see a movie, or we see a YouTube video, or we go to a lecture which says, no, no, you can do it, Girish, you're fine, you're fantastic, you can do it. And for that temporary moment, I get, yes, I can do it, I can do it, I can do, I'm good at public speaking, I can take charge of my life, I can do this. And the moment the conscious mind stops, the subconscious says, तू तो कुछ नहीं करेगा भैया तेरे तो गए काम. Again go back to negativity, and I go into this emotional roller coaster. So beliefs are perceptions that therefore they impact my self-esteem. So therefore I'm never confident. People say, yeah, you can become confident. उसमें क्या है? You know knowledge, you have learned a subject, you know subject. What's the problem? But my subconscious mind says, no, Girish, you cannot achieve it. तेरे बस की बात नहीं है. And that impacts my relationships between husband and wife, parents and children. They start impacting it. It impacts my ability to become rich, the prosperity mindset, a wealthy mindset, and that will start impacting my job performance because in my job, the job demands I should be fully focused on my job. Job demands I should do the best, but my subconscious mind says, what if I get scolded by my boss? What if the customer rejects this thing? I keep getting eaten up by that. I try my best. I'm a hard worker. I try to do my best, but it's never good enough. And then I go to negativity. I always say. And that starts impacting my mental health. I therefore become stressed out. I simply cannot handle stress. And I then start getting ill, right from things like acidity to mental problems to migraines. Migraines are known to be a stress issue. Therefore, there's no medicine on migraines. You can't keep taking tablets on that. There is it impacts my spiritual outlook that God controls everything. I don't control it. And we said, no, but it is your responsibility, not God's responsibility. My belief system starts to impact. And there could be many, many more. Now, what stops us? What stops me from taking massive action for anything? So, am I trapped in the prison of my limiting beliefs and fears? Literally because they stop us. It will stop you from taking action at all. Or even if you take the action, it will keep warning you, saying, what if you fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't do it? Now, therefore, I have to create my own program. Let us first just take a few minutes here to see how limiting beliefs and fears develop. Why is my subconscious mind a program? How did that program get written in the first place? That I am so either negative or those belief systems of mine are suppressing me, or why am I afraid of a lizard? Why am I afraid of a dog? Why am I afraid of a car driving a car, etc., etc. So let's bear with me here. Again, I'm going to simplify it. When the baby is born, let's say I'm going to use the example, let's say, of a lizard or a cockroach just for simplicity, but the same thing applies across the board for everything. So when a baby is born, typically the brain is practically no memories. There is something, we'll not go into that right now because in the fourth trimester, the baby is actually absorbing and storing everything in the form of emotions in the brain. Baby is born, generally the first emotion that it comes generally in contact with is of its parents, saying, "Okay, my lovely baby, my lovely son, lovely daughter, kuchiku, love, very lovely feeling that the baby's got." And the baby is now starting to absorb its surroundings and storing it in the memory bank over here. Okay. Now let's say the baby becomes, let's say, 9, 10 months old, or 6 months old. It's lying in his crib, looking at the ceiling, maybe turning around. And from there, let's say a lizard comes or a cockroach comes. What do you think is the baby's reaction? No reaction. The baby just looks at this and says, hey, what is this creepy crawly creature, scaly, got a tail, it's a lizard, so it's got a tail there, etc., etc. And it's a very yellow in color, got a webbed feet. The baby just admiring it, and the lizard scurries away. Now the baby becomes slightly older, let's say 10 months, 11 months old. The baby can crawl around, slightly walk around the house by holding the furniture, etc. And the lizard comes back. What will the baby's reaction be? The baby says, oh my God, my friend is back. Long time, no see. Where have you been? Now you become bigger, more yellow in color, bigger feet, the scales are bigger. And maybe the baby tries to crawl towards it or walk towards it to maybe to play with its friend. And the moment the baby maybe try to raise its hand to try and touch the result or feel the result, From there, a broom came saying, "Mother, taka, lizard!" And from there, the mother screamed saying, "Lizard!" And the lizard fell down. The tail broke. The tail started ding, 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 ding. The lizard scurried away. Orwell died. From there, the father screamed, "How dare a baby, the lizard come next to a baby? What if the baby would have touched it or eaten it or taken it to its mouth? Don't you take charge of the maid? We pay her so much money, and they have a no joke over there." Now the baby says, "Oh my God, this guy is dangerous." Because the lizard, which few minutes back had really no greater emotions, the parents have displayed such an intense emotion against this lizard. Matlab, this guy is dangerous. And now in my brain, I've got that emotion of either fear, fight, or flight or freeze embedded here. Now the emotion, I can become 35 years of age. I see a lizard. The brain instantly taps into my memory and says, "Lizard, red light, warning, flash, 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 danger, 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 danger." And I've got fear of lizard for life. It's like a railway track. Input lizard, output fight, flight, or freeze. That means output fear. It is ingrained now. And all this happened when I was 9 months or 10 months of age. Now, let's say the baby becomes 5 years of age and the baby has gone outside to play in the darkness, and the baby, let's say, is playing in the dark somewhere, andhare mein khel raha hai. And from there, the neighbor came or somebody came, my uncle came, gave me a tight slap and says, "How dare you play outside in the darkness? What if you fall down? There are insects there, there are crazy, there are snakes there. Who would be responsible for that?" Calls my mother outside, gives her a scolding. My mother gives me two, three slaps, takes me inside. Who told you to go outside to play? I've got fear of darkness, or I've got fear of risk taking. And all our fears are born like this. Now, the emotion is never forgotten. The incidence is forgotten. The emotion is not forgotten. I can become 30, 40, 50 years of age, come andhera kamra, and it goes duck, 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 duck. Or come taking risks, or and all this happens till the age of 8. Why till the age of 8? Because till the age of 7 or 8, the babies or the children live in an entirely subconscious environment. They do not have the conscious brain to help them take decisions. The conscious brain is simply not developed. And therefore, from the age of 8, 7, and 8 onwards, the conscious brain starts to develop. Now the child can do if, but, and, why not, what if, etc., analysis. And the moment it starts to doing that, the baby starts asking questions. And now you might ask the baby, ask the child, tell the child something. The baby asks you why not, so what if it is other thing? I am not convinced. And then somebody might scold the child saying, "आप मुझे जबान आता है? अब तक तो question नहीं पूछा था. How dare you ask me a question?" And the moment that starts to happen, the brain again takes that saying, "Don't ask questions." And now I become 35, 40, 50 years of age. And in a team environment, somebody asks me, "Any questions?" No questions. So if I ask questions, I get scolded. That becomes my subconscious program. And it is so ingrained that it's a program. It's the battle of the conscious. Now, how to change your default program? And now, whatever our age is, it has happened. Till the age of 8, everything majorly happened. From 8 to 14 is transition phase, because 8 to 14, the conscious brain starts to develop, and it does that. 14 to 21 or so, 18, 21 is the real, when the hormonal changes happen. Beyond 20, we are made. It's like a railway track. अगर रेलवे ट्रैक के ऊपर ऐसे जाना है तो रेलवे ट्रैक ऐसे जाएगा. इनपुट डॉग, आउटपुट फियर. इनपुट लिजर्ड, आउटपुट फियर. इनपुट something else, output fear or something. I cannot change it. But the good news is you can change it. You can change your subconscious mind to the affirmative beliefs. Like, you can change yourself to, "I'm a winner, I'm not a loser, I'm a winner." You can make it to, "I can accomplish anything I choose. I'm worthy and valuable person. I'm intelligent and capable. I always do give my best. I easily attract money into my life and use it wisely." You can make these into your subconscious belief programs. I deserve to be rich. Because if you believe that you deserve to be rich, you will attract money. For example, some of us might believe that money is the root of all evil, or money is the root of all corruption. Now, if my belief system is that because my parents taught me saying paisa is बुरा होता है, पैसों से बुरा हो जाता है, I work hard, I work smart, I get money. What does the subconscious mind tell me? Now that you're getting money, you're becoming corrupt. The money will disappear from me as fast as it comes, and I'll never have enough money. I'll always say, यार कितना मेहनत करता हूँ लेकिन पैसा टिकता ही नहीं है. And that becomes my subconscious programming. I love myself and I'm loved by others. My belief controls my genes, my behavior, and I control my beliefs. So all this, if this becomes my subconscious program, I can take charge of my life because potential is never the problem. Do I use my potential in the fullest? That becomes the problem. Last two, three slides, uh, the myths and facts about belief systems and changing your beliefs and fears. If you had a limiting belief or fear for a long time, it will take a long time to change it. No. You can change our limiting beliefs and fears sometimes like this. Sometimes it takes 3, 4 days, maybe a month to change it. But I have now enough experience for last almost 10 years in handling these things of my clients in my many companies and people, where sometimes change happens in one sitting, sometimes it takes 2, 3 sittings. So it can be changed, no problem at all. Myth number two is changing old behaviors and thought patterns is difficult and often painful. Moreover, it is difficult to change an adult brain. It's a myth. The adult brain is very new. It's called as neuroplasticity. The brain can be changed. Literally, the neural system can be changed till 90, 95 years of age. There is no limit for it. We know how to change it now. That's the good news. And sometimes the myth number three is you need to consciously know what caused the problem in order to change it. That's a myth. You don't need to know. So why are you afraid of a dog? You don't need to do that. Why am I afraid of public speaking? You don't need to do that. Why am I afraid of rejection? You don't need to know that. You can still change it without any knowledge of why I have this thing. Now, how do you change this? This is the last, I think the second last slide is there. So it's a four simple processes. There are many processes. These, once you are trained in these processes, you can do it yourself. So you don't have to constantly go to a counselor or a therapist or somebody outside to change it. Once you are trained, okay, it becomes easier. But I would recommend go for a training. Do not do it yourself, because if you fail, because these are, now you're talking of changing the wiring of your brain, literally change the wiring of brain. Like I said, there is something called as neural pathways in the brain. There are neurons which form the railway tracks. अगर गलत कर दिया तो पूरा मीनिंग गलत हो जाता है. So that is a little bit dangerous. It's not a very easy rewiring that you're going to do. Please get trained into it. So one of the methods is called affirmations. A second method is called visualizations. A third one is called experience, facing head on or repetition. There is a very powerful technique called emotion freedom technique, or EFT. Now, these four are very simple, can be taught to you in 1 or 2 days, and you can become slowly over a period of time masters. And that becomes your amazing thing, because then you become a master of your life and not its slave. There are some assisted processes. That means like a trained faculty like me has to do it on you. You cannot do it on your own. The process is called Psyche, which I found as one of the most powerful processes that are there. It's called as a whole brain state process, in which you can literally test your cellular and muscle memory, which means one can test, are you afraid of something? Are you not afraid of something? So you can test your brain patterns, saying you are afraid of a dog or not afraid of a dog. And as the fear changes, you can test it, saying how much has it changed? Is it changed? That's a very powerful process, but unfortunately, you cannot do it on your own unless you're trained by a faculty through a courses. So, but it's a very powerful thing. So what I'll do is I'll just explain to you, because teaching you all these things in a short span of this webinar is a very, very difficult thing. But like I said, I am conducting 2 sessions on this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, through the webinar process, where I'm going to teach these four processes: affirmation, visualization, experience repetition, and emotional freedom techniques, so that you are literally in charge of your life. And then becoming a master of the life and not its slave is your thing to do. So what all, I'll just take quickly to this and then we go to question answer. So the start point is literally rewiring your brain through these processes. Anyone can benefit from this process. If you're a business person, you're a professional, an employee, or for the self, even for housewives, homemakers, these are very powerful processes, gives you immense power. What all does this 2 days involve? I will teach you these four specific techniques on how to train the brain to avoid and handle stress, so that you can literally overcome your fears and limiting beliefs that hold you back, become and stay self-motivated, be the master of your life and not its slave. These are very practical techniques. So no textbook knowledge. I'm not going to give you theories and all that stuff. You're going to do it practically in the session and learn and practice during the session. After the session, if you've not understood something, I'm available on phone. We can always talk or through a Zoom session so that till you learn it. It'll involve a session on mindfulness and sensory meditation. There'll be affirmation, visualization, EFT, and an introduction to Psyche, because like I said, Psyche, I have to do it personally onto you. It cannot be done remotely on anything. It's an online Zoom meeting we're having because unfortunately we cannot travel even now. There are two options. You can choose any one. Option one is on Saturday from 1 o'clock, from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, or you can choose option two, Sunday, 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. The charges for this, your investment for this is rupees 1,250 per person. If you need more information about this, then please note down these things. Even if you don't decide right now, you can send me an SMS or this thing. These are the numbers. The email is office@girishkonkar.com. And the WhatsApp number is of Devyani. The number is there. It is 9923733030. Or you can type your email ID in the chat box. I'll send you the details about this thing. Right. So this is thing now. I have finished right now. What's the time now? It's almost. So if we can take about 5 minutes for Q&A. If you need any more, so there is. So please type out in your chat box. You can type out the questions and how do I get the link for your webinar? Are there any prerequisites? So there are no prerequisites. Just like any of these three things, you can do that. Either drop me an email or on that number, WhatsApp number is given, or type out your email ID over here. I will have the details sent to you. Yes. Any questions you'd like to ask anybody? Any other question here? Or maybe you can unmute yourself and maybe ask a question now. I think you can unmute yourself. Okay, do you conduct this session offline as well? Yes, I can conduct offline, but unfortunately because of travel, right now it is difficult. But earlier, in fact, I would conduct it for the corporates. Right now, it's available for you guys. What are the things you are covering in Saturday's session? I just explained to you. I'll send it to you by email also, all the syllabus. But these 4 techniques of practically doing affirmation, visualization, EFT. So I'll teach you these 4 things so that you can really take charge of your mind and you can take charge. Yeah. Any question? Anybody wants to ask anything?
So 1250 is a fee for a one section, right? Either Saturday or either Sunday.
That is correct. Yes, either Saturday or Sunday. Yeah. Good. So if there are no questions, then thank you very much for joining, and it's been a pleasure. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Dr. Abhishek here. My question was: are one-to-one sessions available offline?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do conduct one-to-one sessions. Yes. So there is specific thing that you would like to know or change your limiting beliefs or fears. We can. Generally, there are 3 sessions that I conduct over a period of span of about 15 days. Sometimes the first
for
one
section also the fee is same, sir.
No,
Section?
No, that is not the same. That we can discuss once if you need anything specifically, we can discuss this. So that's the different fees.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. Will the session help for learning new technology things as I'm a software? Yes, it will help. So Psyche is it is a variation. It is not exactly same. Psyche is what is called as a whole brain state. Kinesiology is slightly different. In Psyche, we literally change the entire memory of your cells. Well, there are 100 trillion cells that we have in the body, and every cell has a memory. And that memory can be changed through a process in these Psyche processes. And that gives you tremendous power in handling your life. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Any questions?
Rishi has sent you a question on your personal. Can you check?
Okay, can you repeat the question because there's suddenly so many things have come up. I may have missed it. Who's speaking, please?
One second, I'll just read out.
I may have missed it in the.
Yeah. It's not showing on the screen now.
Okay. Yeah, you can ask the question. No issues.
It's basically, see, sometime when we are in a group or we have any issue with any individual person, and I always don't like to address that in public.
Right.
I always believe that we should talk one to one.
Fair enough.
So, and that also not at that time,
Okay.
maybe after that.
Okay.
So, but when I try to talk openly one to one, still that person is not ready to listen, and he just throw his anger, and he's not ready to listen at all. And he says, "No, I am the only person who's right," whereas everybody knows that he's wrong.
Right.
So, in that situation, what should be the
See, one is you cannot change the other person. You can only change yourself. So
Correct.
what you can do is you can maybe, I mean, I don't know what the exact thing is, but maybe change your questioning pattern. Once you understand, some questions are yes and no questions, some are open-ended, some are accusatory questions. So maybe the way, I mean, for example, if the other person is your senior, then there's a different type of questioning. If the other person is your junior, there's a different way of asking questions. So that could be more the issue. It could also be because of the subconscious mind, those questioning happens and then it becomes a tutu meme.
right?
So there are techniques which all these techniques which you talked of will help you in, like, visualization can help you tremendously in what sort of question I should ask. So that, because when you ask a question, that becomes a trigger for the other person to react.
Correct.
And now with experience,
So,
you know, okay, agar
until
main
time-
aise question पूछूं, तो he will react negatively. Can I change my questioning? And that you can do in the process called visualization. Okay, how should the whole situation become? And that starts to help you.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. My pleasure. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question, please? Anybody? It says that okay, so Leena Kurup, it says that adventurous tasks become difficult during old age, such as driving. Will this self-change problem take easy? Yes, definitely. Once you change your brain, you are willing to take on anything. So that's that's the beauty of it, because then the mind stops you. Yes, if you might not go and climb Mount Everest, but you will say, okay, I can at least climb hills. Or you said driving. Yeah, well, driving becomes easier because that's no more a stress point for you. So you can learn to drive anytime you want, because the subconscious mind has changed now, and driving is no more a dangerous activity. Life changes. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other? So I hope, Reena, that answers your question. So will this self-drive make it easy? Yes, it will make it very easy. It can change like the stuck. You can become an ace driver after that. Once you learned it. Okay. Can we get recording of the session? I'll try to give you the recording. Send me your email ID. I'll try and get the recording to you. Yeah. Okay, great. So thank you very much, guys. If you have any thing, just drop me an email on office@girishkonkar.com or WhatsApp Devyani, or many of you have typed your email ID in the chat box. I'll definitely send you some of the information. Yeah. And you can also check out my website. So there are lots of YouTube videos also. So please do go online and check them out. Good. So any other question, please? Anybody? So thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all for taking the time off. And hopefully look forward to seeing some of you on Saturday or on Sunday. And so that you can be empowered to take on the world, so to say. Life is great. And trust me, it is amazing. And it's a prism that we need to change. When we change a prism, the colors bloom. And do give me your feedback. I'm sure you got my number. So do give me your feedback of how you found the session.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Bye. Good night.
Okay, guys, good night. Thank you very much. I am signing off. Pleasure having all of you guys on the session.